What was the word for day?
Mera.
Mera, good. Or imera, the day. Or a day?
Mia mera.
Mia mera. And how would you say days?
Meres.
Meres, good. Or I meres. And this time I spelled like O-I rather than the I sound of imera, which is like the N that goes down below the line. For plural I, we get O-I. So imera, I meres. So this is the main plural pattern now for feminine nouns like A to ES, mera, meres. But we do find other plural patterns. For example, what was the word for city?
Poli.
Poli. And do you remember how to say cities?
Polis.
Polis, good. I polis. So this is just like adding an S to poly, polis, but this is spelled EIS, this plural ending. What was the word for big related to mega in English?
Megalos.
Megalos, with rama, megalos. How would you say big city?
Megali poli.
Megali poli, very good. And big cities?
Megali polis.
Why megali polis?
It's megales polis.
Very good. Megales polis. Well, actually, I did this on purpose, no? So that you have to think about each one separately. Because megales polis, they're agreeing. No, we have the plural feminine, megales, and then the plural feminine polis. They're agreeing in meaning, but not in sound. So we don't want to get automatic. That can happen very easily, no? And say megales polis or megalis polis. We want to go slowly. Megales polis, dealing with each word separately. How would you say, I don't like big cities? In Greek, you would say, I don't like the big cities.
Δεν μου αρέσουν οι μεγάλες πόλεις.
Very good. Δεν μου αρέσουν οι μεγάλες πόλεις. Good. And it's οι μεγάλες πόλεις because it's behaving like they, no? Rather than them. I don't like the big cities. The big cities don't please me. Δεν μου αρέσουν οι μεγάλες πόλεις. More, as in more often. What was the word for more, as in more often?
Πιο συχνά.
Πιο. Good. Πιο. If you want to say bigger, you can just say more big.
Πιο μεγάλο.
Πιο μεγάλο. Good. And that refers to something neuter, no? Πιο μεγάλο. What if you were referring to something masculine?
Πιο μεγάλος.
Πιο μεγάλος. Good. And this can also mean old or older. Μεγάλος, old, or πιο μεγάλος, older. How would you say this one is bigger? And we mean a feminine thing. This one is bigger.
Αυτή είναι πιο μεγάλη.
Very good. Αυτή είναι πιο μεγάλη. So αυτή, this can just be this one, no? By itself. Αυτή είναι πιο μεγάλη. What was the word for there?
Εκεί.
Εκεί. And that one?
Εκείνος.
Ekinos for masculine, no? And for neuter?
Εκείνο.
Ekino. Good. The word for than is the same as the word for from. So how do you say from in Greek?
Από.
Apo, with the accent on the end. Apo.
Από.
Good. So we could say this one is bigger than that one. So let's talk about the neuter thing. This one is bigger than that one.
Αυτό είναι πιο μεγάλο από εκείνο.
Very good. Αυτό είναι πιο μεγάλο από εκείνο. Very good. So πιο μεγάλο is more big or bigger. If we say the more big, το πιο μεγάλο, we get the biggest or the biggest one, το πιο μεγάλο.
Το πιο μεγάλο.
Good. And how would that be if we were talking about a masculine thing?
Ο πιο μεγάλος.
Ο πιο μεγάλος. So πιο doesn't change depending on the gender. No, it just means more. Ο πιο μεγάλος, the more big. How would you say, I want the biggest one, the most big? Talking about the neuter thing.
Θέλω το πιο μεγάλο.
Good. Θέλω το πιο μεγάλο. And talking about a masculine thing.
Θέλω τον πιο μεγάλο.
Good. Θέλω τον πιο μεγάλο. And megalos lost its S there, no? Because it's like him rather than he. I want the biggest one, I want the biggest him, not the biggest he. Θέλω τον πιο μεγάλο. And a feminine thing, we want the biggest one, the most big.
Θέλουμε την πιο μεγάλη.
Very good. Θέλουμε την πιο μεγάλη. Very good. The word for cheap is φτηνό, φτηνό.
Φτηνό.
And the word for something?
Κάτι.
Κάτι. We want something cheaper. We want something more cheap.
Θέλουμε κάτι πιο φτηνό.
Very good. Θέλουμε κάτι πιο φτηνό. We want the cheapest one that you have. So, the first bit is we want the cheapest one. We want the most cheap.
Θέλουμε το πιο φτηνό.
Θέλουμε το πιο φτηνό that you have. Which that is this? This is that like which you have.
Που.
Που. Good. So we saw two ways of saying that. We saw ότι, like in I think that, for example, and then we saw που, like which. So, we want the cheapest one that you have.
Θέλουμε το πιο φτηνό που έχεις.
Very good. Θέλουμε το πιο φτηνό που έχεις. So this is neuter, no, το πιο φτηνό. What if we were to say we want the cheapest ones that you have? Still neuter, so the neuter plural. We want the cheapest ones that you have.
Θέλουμε τα πιο φτηνά που έχεις.
Good. Θέλουμε τα πιο φτηνά που έχεις. Other than more big, πιο μεγάλος, we could also say μεγαλύτερος, μεγαλύτερος.
Μεγαλύτερος.
So the os ending can change to iteros, and we get bigger or biggest. Megalos, megaliteros. So how would you say they want something bigger?
Θέλουνε κάτι μεγαλύτερο.
Good. Θέλουνε κάτι μεγαλύτερο. Κάτι is neuter, let's say. No, something. Θέλουν κάτι μεγαλύτερο. What was cheap?
Φτηνό.
Φτηνό. Φτηνό has the accent on the end, so it's slightly different when we say cheaper. We have φτηνότερος, φτηνότερος.
Φτηνότερος.
How would you say they want something cheaper?
Θέλουνε κάτι φτηνότερο.
Very good. Θέλουνε κάτι φτηνότερο. They want the cheapest one. Let's say it's a masculine one we're talking about. They want the cheapest one.
Θέλουνε τον φτηνότερο.
Very good. Θέλουνε τον φτηνότερο. Very good. So φτηνότερο there is also φτηνότερος without the S. This one is cheaper than that one, feminine.
Αυτή είναι φτηνότερη από εκείνη.
Αυτή είναι φτηνότερη από εκείνη. Η τιμή is the price. Η τιμή.
Η τιμή.
And also the honor. The honor is also η τιμή. And it has the same spelling, exactly the same spelling, so we might assume it's exactly the same word. Maybe your price is your honor. Η τιμή.
Η τιμή.
How would you say it is a good price?
Είναι καλή τιμή.
Είναι καλή τιμή. Καλή τιμή είναι. In Greek, you can also put είναι afterwards, no, for more emphasis. Καλή τιμή είναι. A good price it is. How would you say a better price? So, καλή is good. How would you say better? More good.
Καλύτερη.
Καλύτερη or πιο καλή. So, a better price?
Καλύτερη τιμή.
Good. Καλύτερη τιμή. Μια καλύτερη τιμή. Προτιμώ. Προτιμώ is I prefer.
Προτιμώ.
So this is something like I first honor or something like this, no? Προτιμώ, like τιμή. So I first honor something like this. Προτιμώ, I prefer. How would you say I prefer? The cheap one. Let's talk about the masculine thing. I prefer the cheap one.
Προτιμώ τον φτηνότερο.
That would be I prefer the cheapest one, but just I prefer the cheap one.
Προτιμώ τον φτηνό.
Very good. Προτιμώ τον φτηνό. I should also mention that you might see φτηνό as φτηνό. So instead of F-T-I-N-O, F-T-H-I-N-O. And there's a couple of words like this that have alternative forms in Greek, like χθες, yesterday, and χτες, yesterday. So you might see that. I prefer the cheap ones. Still masculine. I prefer the cheap ones.
Προτιμώ τα φτηνά.
Good. This would be for neuter things, no? Protimo ta ftina. And how about masculine things?
Προτιμώ τους φτηνούς.
Very good. Protimo tus ftinus. I prefer the cheap ones. Protimo tus ftinus. And I prefer the cheapest ones? Still masculine. I prefer the cheapest ones.
Προτιμώ τους φτηνότερους.
Very good. Protimo tus ftinoterus. And if you don't want to think your way through ftinoterus, you don't have to. You can also say protimo tus πιο ftinus. Very good.